Before we get this video begun, moment in silence, please. Hey, what is up guys, Claak here, and I know it's been a while since I made a YouTube video. I do apologize, but what I have been doing is I've been streaming on Twitch, and if you want a link to my Twitch, here it is right here. Go ahead and hit that follow button. I'm there all the time streaming some Fortnite, WoW, PUBG, pretty much anything the viewers want me to do, I will do it. Anyways, this is going to be a basic guide. We're not going to be super hardcore in-depth in it like Stoop's videos where he talks about positioning, all that. He goes really in-depth. It's going to be a basic guide. That's what I'm saying, all right? First one you're going to want to go into is Star-Lord. Sometimes I see people run Warrior of the Loon, but I don't think that's very good because especially this season is very melee oriented. Even if you're facing casters, I would strongly recommend Star-Lord. Right now, Boomkins revolve around doing hard cast spells, so having a 20% increased time on that is very huge because most of our damage comes from solar rafts and doing star surges, so you got to keep that in mind. Now, the second one's debatable. Displacer Beast is very good if you can go ahead and blink behind pillar and LOS a specific damage, maybe like a Warlock, or LOS some melee and try to get away for a split second. If you can go ahead again, blink behind pillar so that way, you know, a warrior can't charge you. That's very huge. That will pretty much destroy his damage. That will cancel a lot of damage that he won't be able to do to you, and your healer will be able to pop you up. But if you feel like you can't really get too much mobility, and even if you blink away, it's not going to really like stop him from getting you. So if it's like a Windwalker / Feral, or you know, something that you just simply, it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to take a lot of damage. It doesn't matter what you do. So if that is the case, then you're going to want to run Renewal. Renewal is pretty good for that. Now for the third run, Guardian's Infinity is probably going to be the best one by far. Rest of it just sucks. Feral Infinity obviously just sucks. And the best one is just this. You get a 6% damage reduction and the Frenzy Regeneration. Even though the Frenzy Regeneration isn't that big anymore because it has been nerfed, but it's still really good. Alright, for the next row, it is debatable between Mighty Bash and Massive Entanglement. Basically, if you feel like you're going to be CCing the healer, like if you're the main CCer and you need to get CC onto the healer in order to win, a lot of times I'll just run Massive Entanglement because most of the time when you run with other classes, they're going to have some kind of stun. But again, you can coordinate that. If your team lacks stuns, you can go to Mighty Bash. But for Mighty Bash to obviously take place, if you want to bash someone, you got to be up in their face. And usually you don't want to be up in their face. Unless it's like a melee that's on you, you can Mighty Bash them. But what I like to do is I like to root beam the healer. So that's why it's instant cast. You know, it's kind of hard for them to predict it. The only way they can get out of root beam is if they jump your root and beam. So keep that in mind. For the next one, Incarnate is going to be the best bet because it increases your damage by 35%. So that's very huge. I know Solo Force is going to be very appetizing, but believe me, Incarnate's just best by far. I know just reading what Solo Force does, it seems like amazing. But just, you gotta trust me on this, okay? Now, for the next row, you want Astral Communion. This is on-demand burst. Everything else kind of here just sucks. This just gives you astral power. It generates it. Very crappy. And Shooting Star, again, generates astral power and does a little bit of damage. So I really don't find these two really helping out too much. I'd rather have that on-demand burst. Basically, what you use this astral power into is mainly Star Surges. And Star Surges can crit up to millions. So it's pretty big. Again, the bottom three kind of suck for you, so the best one is going to have to be Nature's Balance. And like it doesn't really matter. You can go to Stellar Drift. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't go into that, but it's just got to pick your poison here. Now for the next row, you're always want to go into Gladiator's Medallion. You always want to have an on-demand trinket because you might need a trinket something. So for instance, if you need to be in bear form or some kind of burst and they go ahead and cheap shot you in boomkin form, you're going to take a lot of damage. So you might need a trinket, go in boomkin form, or excuse me, bear form to reduce a lot of that damage. For the next row, it's pretty simple to know what to go into. Mighty Quickness, increase your haste. Haste doesn't really do too much, but the two others suck. Like damage increased by 15% being attacked will cancel this effect for 8 seconds. Like that's horrible. That's horrible. You're always going to be attacked all the time. And Initiation, I can see you using that, but again, I wouldn't, unless you're making like super hard swaps with like full moons, which is very situational. I wouldn't ever go into this. For the next row, it's going to be Celestial Guardian. You're going to take 10% less damage from spells and receive 20% extra healing. Again, bear form is very huge as a Moonkin. Most of the time against like double melee, you might be sitting bear form pretty much all game. That's just the life as a Moonkin right now. For the next row, Eclipse is going to help your Incarn. It's going to reduce the cooldown of it by 60 seconds. It's huge. Again, Incarn is one of our biggest, damage increases. Basically, wouldn't be popping. The opposing team should be like, oh shit, either LOS it, CC it, or train it to the ground. They have to do something. They can't just let a Moonkin free cast in Incarn, because if they do, they'll most likely die. For the next row, you're going to go in Moonkin Aura, even if you're the only spellcaster, which most likely not be. Moonkin Aura is going to be really good to help out your damage. A 15% increase, a crit strike is very huge. Now for the last row, this is very debatable. You can go into Cyclone or Deep Roots. Now, let me explain. Most of the time, Cyclone is going to be best by default, but you can go into Deep Roots for, if you want to go ahead and get a kill on the healer. A lot of times, healers don't even know about Deep Roots. So what you do is you Deep Root them, then you can beam them. And basically what that is a 8-second stun, because they can't get out of it. They have to sit there and take that damage. And what you can do, again, is reroute them. And then what I like to do is when I run Deep Roots is I like to go into Mighty Bash, and so 5-second stun. So I literally can put him in about 14 to 15 second stun, and I can almost solo any healer. It's probably the most disgusting ability. Not a lot of people know about it. I think it's pretty big over on EU, but again, it's very strong, but Cyclone's probably going to be your default. But not even, you could even run Deep Roots, honestly, even if you don't want to get a kill on the healer. What if you're facing a double melee and the healer only has 1 dispel, and it's not like a priest. Priests have 2 dispels, if you didn't know. So basically, Deep Roots is very good for that, because you can keep spamming 1 roots on to 1 DPS, and you can damage him, and it would act as a stun. He can't really do too much. If it's a melee, he can't do anything. And then you could rotate it to the other DPS. So you can make really good swaps with this. So I think this is really underappreciated. I think it's probably one of the strongest things they added to us that a lot of players just don't simply know. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick guide. As always, get out there and pwn some nubs.